The latest target in the Season 4 Manhunt has confirmed a few suspicions that have been discussed up until now. Felix Sokolov has been reunited with his sister, and he is thrilled to be able to grow and work together in her newly acquired empire. But does she share the same intentions? Russian businessman Alexei Sokolov is the founder and CEO of the hugely successful international military equipment manufacturer Sokolov concern. Alexei had a daughter to an earlier relationship that separated later for unknown reasons. He later married an American woman, and eventually they had his first and only son, Felix. As a family, they decided to relocate to his wife's country of birth, the United States, but left behind his daughter to keep the family business ticking along. Her name was Natalia Sokolova. Alexei was hard on Felix and had high hopes and expectations that he forced upon him. As soon as he graduated from school, Felix was told by his father that he must enlist with the Navy. While on deployment, his father died under suspicious circumstances, and after a lengthy court battle, Felix's mother was eventually convicted of his murder. When his tour was over, he moved on to study medicine at Johns Hopkins University. It was during this time that he was recruited by the Strategic Homeland Division. But regardless, sometime after completing his study, he was approached and recruited by the Black Tusk. After her father's death and her stepmother's conviction, Natalia reached out to Felix. She went on to fund his studies and attempt to reunite with a brother that she barely knew. When Baden Schaefer brought Fei Lau on board, she met up with Felix during her induction.
You were a good agent, Felix. What made you leave the division?
Family.
I get that.
You lose someone?
My sister.
The virus?
No. Rikers. I couldn't keep her safe. Budget cuts.
Well, you'll never have that problem with Black Tusk. Natalia will get us anything we need.
Natalia?
My sister. She runs this entire operation. Anything you need, I can get it.
You don't think it's weird she'd let you work in the field? It's not the safest place for a kid like you.
You've read my profile, you know I've served before. It's why the division recruited me. Well, that and I'm sure they got a family discount on those knee pads you were wearing when Schaefer brought you in.
It's unclear whether Natalia's name and involvement with the Black Tusk was a surprise to Fei or not, but she didn't seem overly convinced that Natalia's intentions towards Felix were purely about tight family bonds.
You asking the other candidates this much about their families?
Only when it's relevant.
So what else do you want to know?
How close are you with your sister?
Not as close as I'd like. It's hard. She grew up in Russia. I didn't really get to know her until after our father died.
That was what, 6 or 7 years ago?
6. What does it matter?
Nothing. Just, that's around the same time she started Black Tusk.
So?
Oh, nothing. I'm just thinking out loud. It's interesting that your father dies, she reconnects or connects with you. She inherits the company and builds this PMC. It just seems like... Never mind. I'm seeing conspiracies where they probably don't exist.
My sister loves me.
I'm sure she does.
When we lost our father, she was allowed to come from Russia for the funeral. It's not that hard to understand. That in that moment, she was there to help me. She put me through school. She got me this job. She saw how agents were dying, and she sacrificed her men to bring me in and protect me. You don't do that if you don't care about someone.
Felix wasn't having a bar of it. He refused to believe that Natalia's help was anything but family helping one another. She offered him a role in the Black Tusk after seeing how out of their depth the division was. She rescued him from what was looking like certain death. Before the main operation, Fei talks to Felix about escorting a VIP.
Kestrel, get your team ready.
Got an assignment?
Nothing too big. Just need you to escort a VIP.
Babysitting duty? Seriously, don't you have some grunts who can do this?
Trust me, this escort is too important to leave to a rookie.
Well, now you've got my attention.
Given what we know about the Black Tusk at this stage, and who remains in their ranks, it's likely that this target is President Ellis, or someone of equally high importance to them, so they needed the right person for the job. Leading up to the operation, Felix discusses strategy with Viper.
You ready for this?
Absolutely.
You don't mind not knowing who the target is?
I trust Faye. And frankly, she's right. We've had too many leaks. She's smart to keep this one close to the vest.
Do you know who the target is?
I've got my suspicions, but I'm not going to speculate.
I think it's Kelso.
Okay, Sparky. Don't strain that big brain of yours.
Being young and eager, Felix is keen to get started on the op, but expresses confusion around the lack of intel. Viper trusts Faye and understands the reasons behind the secrecy. Unwilling to rock the boat, Felix accepts this and continues with his preparation. When instructed to do so, he set forth executing his part in the operation. Taking his band of BTSU, he started capturing locations of interest in the northeastern districts of Washington, D.C. Multiple sites were captured in Downtown East, Federal Triangle, and Judiciary Square. However, the division were hot on his tail and were quickly able to put a stop to his advancements. After taking back these sites, they were able to find his location. While Phoenix put up a somewhat unorthodox assault, the division was eventually able to push him back, taking down his BTSU guard and eventually eliminating him in the process. Felix's manhunt confirms his suspicions around Natalia's involvement with the Black Tusk. In fact, as it turns out, she's the founder of the organization. This happened shortly after her father's death, when she inherited control of his empire. The circumstances around her father's death seem very suspicious. On one hand, maybe Natalia's American stepmother did murder him, and this whole attack on the United States is her way of enacting revenge. Or maybe it was her who took him down, framing it on his wife. Being somewhat separated from her father's new family and not having the tight connection that they may have once had, she may have been presented with an opportunity that required her to step up and take control. Natalia has referred to having business partners a couple of times, and from the very start, we've known that the Black Tusk has deep ties to people within the US government. Perhaps she was approached before assembling the Black Tusk, and before she could act on anything, she would need to remove the one small obstacle in her path, her boss and father, Felix Sokolov. But where does Felix come in with all of this? In my opinion, she has absolutely no emotional bonds to him. He has simply been a convenient distraction for authorities around Alexei's death. Also, through caring for him, paying his way through college, pulling him away from the dangerously undermanned and collapsing SHD, and then giving him a position within the Black Tusk ranks, she has been granted an extremely loyal soldier for her personal army. Felix is a smart kid, but he's young and naive. He is proud of finally being a part of his sister's life, and she knows this. Felix is so smitten by Natalia's presence and generosity, plus the chance to reunite their family, that he has clouded any potential warning signs that could point to anything else. One thing is for certain though, Faye doesn't seem overly convinced of Natalia's intentions, and now that Barton is somewhat out of the picture, I'm sure we'll be seeing clashes between these two in the coming days. Before I go, please remember that there are a number of us who choose not to keep up to date with the story leaks, so try and refrain from publishing any spoilers in the comments. Otherwise, I hope you've enjoyed this video, and I'll catch you in the next one. Cheers!